Will Waring was the director of one of the episodes that I did. One of the episodes with Amanda was I took her on a date, and I love doing the show, by the way. I got to be like a grown-up. I know when I have Peter. I'm his little brother, you know, so I'm going over the script for the first episode they do, and he goes, you know, you have to act like a grown-up. And I was like, I know I am a grown-up. You know, it just was so funny. Like my brother's impression of me, I was like, what do you think I'm gonna do? Go, you know?
That's Chris Judge's joke.
Yes. So when I did the episode where I took her out, we went dancing, and yes, she had a really wonderful time. The character had a great time. So we go home, and now I get to kiss Amanda Tapping. And you know, when you're doing a scene like that, you pop a mint, you're like, you know, do you want to go left or right? Should I, you know, what do you know, you want to respect who you're working with, and, you know, what is it that you're comfortable with? You have to check that out. And she goes, oh, I'm good. And I was like, okay. So I had to come in. I mean, you guys, hopefully you've seen the scene, but I had to come in. I gave her a kiss, and I just was like, I'm gonna do this. So I might have. Oh, there's Chris.
Before Chris,
he's like solid. He works out everybody.
Before Chris absolutely takes over, because he's going to bulldoze over all of us, as he should. Amanda, I don't know we'll ever tell you this.
Wait.
And I'm sorry for the Sam and Jack fans. Amanda says David is the better kisser.
What? I love it. No, I'll just finish the story really quick.
I think so too.
I'm not supposed to tell them.
That's the truth.
So we do the scene, and I'm very passionate. I even give her a kiss on the neck, and I'm like, this is, I love it. And then I'm like, okay, cut. And the director, Will, said, okay, good, we're good, we have that. Are you guys okay? And Amanda goes, oh no, we have to do that again.
He's just proving Amanda's points.
You can ask her about that story. We'll see. Okay, Chris, what do you think? What were you doing? Wait, you want me to stay? Okay, I'll stay here for another. I have to go to the bathroom at some point.
If you don't stay here, you'll mess up the 3-to-1 black guy ratio. Just all your TV shows, Steve.
I told them, I said, my dad used to say, he used to call what do you refer to that as?
The tattoo.
The tattoo as the Mercedes symbol.
Yes. Your dad made it a mission to make me laugh every take.
Well, because you were so serious.
Well, and he succeeded. That's why I'm in that episode so little. I had so few takes of me not laughing. And your dad was just on me, and I couldn't, I actually had to ask Peter, I was like, can I change my eyeline so that I'm not looking at your dad? Because every time I look at him, he'd be like this. Tom, what are you doing? You're killing me. Wait, I don't know if people know. So back then, we shot on film. Film is this thing. And so I forgot how many, there's 1,000 feet per roll. Your dad had the record because they would let you go, as long as you were funny or interesting or whatever. Your dad held the record the entire run of the show for the most rollouts.
Oh, wow.
Your dad would literally roll out entire spools of film being that funny.
Yeah, he gave it his all.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Aaron, I think a season 3 blooper reel is now a priority.
Oh yeah. Let's take that out
I know that he loved working on the show, and you've got to make it fun. I mean, if you're not having fun, then what are you doing,
Exactly.
right?
I've always lived by, we are in the entertainment business. Why should it be entertaining to do it?
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. Well, you can tell, and like we were talking about Bert and my dad and Cannibal Run and everything earlier, that you could tell that they had a lot of fun. And if anybody hasn't watched the outtakes for Cannonball Run, you should watch it, because I challenge you to watch that and not laugh. It's impossible, you know. So it is. It's important to have fun. So you had fun shooting Stargate?
A blast, an absolute blast. Well, you know from coming up, you guys look at the set. I mean, that was kind of always not that we didn't take the work seriously, but if you had a joke, filming could wait. Yeah. It just had to be funny.
You always said, we will have fun. You know, that was one of the things that came down from Rick and Michael and Brad. You know, people have to want to come into work tomorrow.
Exactly.
So you know, from people who have to do that, you know, it's like a little less of that. Let's have a good time and we'll get the work done.
Right. You know, and that was, as you said, that was the tone that was really set by Rick and Mike. You know, because in the beginning we knew we had 2 years, and the 2 years was never in their mind. Literally what they said during the first read-through is, we're going to do this until we stop laughing. And we never stopped laughing.
We're still laughing! I'm still laughing!
But somehow the paychecks have subsided. I'm not sure how
That happens.
But you guys even on Dining Home, like you bring that same attitude, like that shoot up here in Vancouver at Christmas with the doctors. My goodness, that was so much fun.
We set the tone for that, and we were out either laughing ourselves sick or crying ourselves sick with Terrell over Dawn.
Yeah,
it was just that was magic.
It,
and I hope we do it again.
It was like stepping back, like on the set again. I mean, it was just seeing everybody. It was amazing. First of all, how no one's really aged that much. And we started 21 years ago.
Wow, it was 21 years ago.
Yeah, 21.
It was before my youngest daughter was even born. That's a long time ago. We shouldn't talk about age now. Okay. I can put my makeup on.
Somehow my liver is still alive.
It's out on the golf course.
Well, what are some of your favorite things about getting out to see fans and Gatecon in particular? You've been to a few Gatecons, right?
I've been to one Gatecon. This is only my second Gatecon, I believe. You know, and it always is special coming back to Vancouver, especially. I don't know if you know, but my son plays for Saskatchewan. And, you know you're in Canada when fans don't boo the opposition. They applaud the opposition. I love Canada, man. It's so lovely. Can you send a letter to our president? I have to promise everywhere I go now that I won't be as political. And I never hold to it. What was I saying? Oh, my son played for Saskatchewan. And God, when the draft came, you know, we were really hoping that he would be here in BC so I could come back to BC more, but whatever. Although we will be watching the game this Saturday in a bar near you. But coming back to Vancouver is always so special. There's always such great memories. And that's what when people ask what my favorite memories were, it's really hard because they were all my favorite memories. You know, Stargate, like, I'm sure ruined a lot of us.
You're saying a lot of people's lives.
No, you mean it spoiled you?
Yeah.
You said it was like Shangri-La.
Yeah, like spoiled the women. It was Brigadoon. It was, you know, it was this magical place that will never occur again. Well, I know it's supposed to be every 7 years, but I'm taking creative lessons.
Back in the day, when it was 21 years ago,
this would be our third resurrection of Brigadoon.
It's amazing.
I'm not sure how we spun that there, but
But I mean, but if you go back to Vancouver and what it was like, it was a different time back then, and the film industry had now established because when Peter was doing 21 Jump Street, it was the first time that filming had really happened in Vancouver. It was
It's a different
wide
city.
sky, and it's a totally different city.
But also, that's where I met your brother, right?
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we get a good story here. What's going on?
I met your brother on 21st. I was up here doing Booker.
Okay.
And,
Which was the Richard Grieco spin-off show.
Yes. And for whatever reason, they couldn't cast a part on 21 Jump Street, so I was already for Booker's. Chris, would you go over to do...
Another television show, of course, no problem.
Sure. So we were filming at Dicks on Dicks. Richards on Richards. And so the scene was waiting in line, and there's a kerfuffle that happens, and so during your brother was kind of just entertaining extras, like, because it was a cold night, and I was like, this is, because I obviously knew who he was, but I'd never met him. And so they introduced us, and I just watched your brother entertain these background performers who were clearly miserable.
Because it was probably freezing.
Yeah. And I just, what a great dude. And so throughout the course of it, we had some laughs, and that was it. And then so when he came back, and his name's floating around to direct, I was like, no, he's great. Like, that dude, he's fun. Like, he knows how to be people, and great sense of humor, blah, 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 blah. And then he came, and he was even better than advertised. And
That's so
he was-
cool.
he
Isn't that a
was
nice
such
story?
But your whole family, man. Your whole-
Oh, yeah, no, I love my brother. He sat on me for the better part of my childhood. So I'm so glad that he didn't sit on you.
I always told Peter, man, I would love to buy a ticket to have Thanksgiving dinner with you.
Oh, yeah. It was very filling, delicious, and loud.
Are we all invited then?
Yes. No, it was nice, and that's really sweet. I'm going to tell Peter that story. I had everybody here say, do you guys remember what it is? So I sent him that video. They sent a couple of pictures back. Isn't it funny? You know what it is? You know where Peter got that? From my dad, because my dad was always genuinely interested in other people, because when you're an actor, you want to know the human experience. So he wanted to get to know everybody, always. And entertain and make people feel good. So if we're not entertaining, then what are we doing if we're not having fun? And we're all a part of it. Everybody down to, not that craft service isn't the most important part of the show, but that everybody is a part of what is making the final product. It all, factors in. So, do you remember meeting me for the first time, Chris? I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. I'm being silly.
Which one are you?
Michael, I'm the middle brother.
And David Blue would get so mad at me because I would always go David Blue and David Delouise.
Oh, that's so funny.
Because
I like it.
He kind of reminded me of Delouise.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very bubbly and spontaneous.
And also has lost a lot of weight and is in amazing shape. I just saw him down in LA last week. I was going to see a movie that I did, which is called Unbroken 2, which is a sequel, the latter half of Lou Zamperilli's life. I was at the screening at the ArcLight in Los Angeles, and he was coming out of, they went and saw Raiders of the Lost Ark. They were playing it on the big screen.
That's such
So I
a
saw
Levi
him
thing to
live.
do.
Yeah, it was really cool. But so there's a movie that I did that's coming out. It's just like, it's normal to say I only have a small part in it, but you know what? Doesn't matter, I'm in it. But David is a lot of fun, and I have a photo of me and David holding each other tight that we took. Yes, that question has been waiting for a long time. Let's hear the
Save your
question.
shoulders.
I'm sorry, it wasn't really
Wait, is that a question mark or a number 2? No, that on the sign.
That's a number 2.
That's a number 2.
Oh, that is number. So where's number 1? Oh,
Number
there's
one's
oh,
over
okay,
there.
okay. I make my kid do that. Hold it number 1. Which one is it?
Basically, I just wanted to say to David that the one thing I remember about your father in every movie I've ever seen him in is his infectious laughter. Listening to him laugh can just turn the whole thing right there. It's just great.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And Bert had an infectious laugh too. I'm trying to come up with my own patented infectious laugh. Here we go, you ready? Just say hi to me. Hi. And then Bert would go up at the end. Here we go. If you're genuinely happy, I think that comes across. You know, it's really sweet of you to say.
All right, you know what I love about you, Dad? Just the last thing. That no one was off limits.
Yeah.
That his humor knew no bounds.
Yeah.
Shit, Delouise. Oops. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. There can't be kids here. There should be in school. Why aren't you in school?
Because they want to see you.
You know, because, you know, back then, Rick was still kind of off limits. You kind of had to be careful how you poke fun of him. Not dumb.
Yeah, he just is like everybody's equal.
Yeah.
Everybody, not that he didn't feel like he was equal, but and then sometimes it's interesting because when you work with certain actors, they have a process, you know, and some other people don't. And my dad's process was to cut through whatever shield you had so that you could, you know, play with him and feel comfortable. He wanted you to feel comfortable with him so that you would roll out the film, as you say, you know. Yeah, boy, that's nice. Yes, number one, and then I'm going to go to the bathroom. Just if anybody's curious.
Yeah, no, just do what your brother did.
Oh,
Right.
Which paddle will you carry? Too early? Too early? Is it too early?
yes, too early.
Just to touch a little bit, continue on your family, obviously, and your father. I think you sound loads like him anyway when you do laugh. We can see that definitely. So that's a huge compliment. Obviously, you are your own person, but there's a fantastic memory of that. And coming back to obviously acting in your family, I think one of my favorite things that you all appeared at the same time was in my favorite comedy show with John Lithgow, which is Third Rock from the Sun.
Yes. It's funny that you continue. Sorry.
No, that's it. That's a huge compliment, obviously.
It's so great, and also like your character in the Stargate, that everything was kind of new in this world, you know. So on Third Rock, they were all aliens, and so everything was new. So that it was again, like we said, fish out of water. Yes, I'm gasping for air. But that they could identify. Now, Mark Brazil was one of the writers, wrote an episode where John Lithgow's character sleeps with this woman who happens to be my mom, and then my dad, who's like a mafia boss, and Michael and Peter were his goons, they come in to rough him up. Well, Tom Warner of Carsey Warner, who they did a lot of big shows back in the day, and they were the producers, and they said, there's no way you're going to get all the Delouise at one time. But then he did, and it was so fun. You know, it's a wonderful thing when you get to enjoy your family, and then another thing when you get to work with them. And now we have that forever. And that was one of my best jobs. You know, it was so fun.
Did you do that first in Sequest? Or was your mom in that one?
My mom was not in it, and my mom was not in the Stargate one as well. But I had a one-line thing in Sequest.
In one episode, you
Yes.
were all there.
Yeah, and my dad played. My dad, it was good. You put your kids into the acting business, and then you get jobs later. You know what I mean? Right? But we did that, and then Michael actually produced a movie that we all did. So there's like 3 projects that we did together. So, but it's so funny you bring that up. Just yesterday, someone told me that story about how they didn't think they would get all of us. You know, apparently we should have played a little more hardball. That's fun. Okay, I'm going to let you talk to Chris and do your thing, and I'm going to see you guys a little later, and I'm going to come back now. Guess what I'm doing?
You know, I thought David just knew a lot about, or everything about Stargate. You know everything about everything.
Yeah, he's a walking
Sci-fi
Wikipedia.
fan.
Is he talking about me?
No, take a let me
Now, you need to go pee.
breathe.
I hurt my hand, Chris, I'm sorry. I'm out.
It's uncanny.
I appreciate that. It's I'm one of a kind, and my homeworld is not of this world. But please,
Well, then there'll be an immigration force which may.
move me right out.
No, don't be political. Don't
Please stop. Please stop by and try and stump David with your Stargate trivia. We did that in San Diego, and that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. But let me tell you something. Working with Chris, because this is his panel after all, he's all over the place. And one of the dialogue series that we've been doing for a year, and one aspect of that is exciting for me because you never know what's going to happen. It's much like taking Gatecon with you wherever you go in terms of Chris. But the other part of that is I have to be the straight man to his more wild character and just keep reeling him back in. It's like, okay, we gotta get some work done.
As I'm behind the camera going.
Exactly. Yeah, we were up in we were in here last December, and I can't remember who we were talking to. Come on.
I just fucking noticed. I just noticed what the. This is awesome.
So we had like, we had the 5-minute cards, and then we had the stop card, and Chris was like, put that down! We're talking! So, but if you haven't, can I plug that?
Oh, we'll do that more. We'll be playing Diamond Home all
This guy's, and you're in a couple of episodes, but this guy's a tour de force, and I am blessed to have him as a co-host. What an extraordinary human being. And it's incredible how much support.
As you can see, we're in renegotiations for season 2. No, man, my friend, it is an honor. First of all, I get to hang out with you, and like I do, man, I love just like talking to you, man, because you're literally your breadth of knowledge is really, really remarkable, and and just to be around a nicer fella, it doesn't happen.
I appreciate that. And, I think that talking, because in some ways, because even though Teal'c was the alien on the team, in some respects, Teal'c was also the most human, because he brought us back to the baseline. And when it talks about, we talk about him being childlike, of what is right and what is wrong, and what is good and what is not good. And Teal'c always knew. And it's funny coming from the person who committed war atrocities and was forced by his culture and his society and to take care of his family to do some horrible stuff. And when he comes to Earth, he has this breadth of knowledge. I mean, he's like 97 years old in the first season, And you have taken that upon yourself to try to live like Teal'c. So are there situations where you're like, what would he do in this situation?
No.
I know that's not true.
The funny thing is, when we started, people would say, how much are you like Teal'c? I'd be like, not at all. But as I've gotten old, it's weird, like just my sense, my perspective is so much more like Teal'c's now than it ever was when I was playing. Just the definitive sense of what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad. There really is no gray area for me. There is no, well, if I look at it kind of with one eye like that, then maybe it'll be okay. No, and I'd like to thank the rise of Donald Trump for that. There's a right Don't be political. Don't be political. God. But with the current state of America, world, I'm not even supposed to say, but this is as a fan of sci-fi. God, what a great time it would be for some hopeful sci-fi to come back.
Yeah. And that's what we were talking to everybody about what we love about Stargate, and for me, that's why I love to go back and keep rewatching it, because it was hopeful, it was happy, and you don't get a lot of that. There's a lot of dark and gritty these days.
I don't care who's in political office. There's never a better time to watch Stargate than now. There really is. Because it's perpetually relevant. That's why I'm in it for it, and good storytelling.
But so often I find that the climate of sci-fi is diametrically opposed to what the kind of the world status quo is. When the world is fairly happy and things are going decent, the sci-fi is darker. But I think when the world is darker, the sci-fi is lighter. You know what I mean? As I said, what a great time.
Well, in sci-fi for me it was always about escapism, and that's why I read sci-fi, I read fantasy. Whenever I was a kid, I wanted to escape to a different world, and what a world that we had in Stargate. Worlds, galaxies. We've got number one.
5 minutes? I was 25 minutes late.
We'll see what I have to deal with.
Wait for a mic.
Yeah, wait for a mic. Oh, there we go.
Wait, you just spoke into it. How can you wait on it?
Waiting
I'm waiting on a mic. Just waiting. If you see a mic.
So Chris, I drove 6 hours from Winnipeg to watch your son's team beat my team.
No, you didn't.
I did. And I did not boo you when you came out in the Rough Rider hat. But I was wondering if you've had the opportunity to come and watch a live game with your son, in particular in Regina, where it's a great atmosphere for football.
I have actually blocked out 3 weeks of November, because the playoffs, as you know, start at the beginning of November. So I'm going to go to 3 games in a row in November. So I specifically have not booked anything for those 3 weeks, and that'll be my first time going. But I've talked to Coach Jones quite a bit. What a weird wacky dude that is. He's like a genius. Like he is especially defense. He's a defensive genius. What a nice fella. I first came here in '86 for Expo, and it was quite a different time then. There was 3 black guys here then. So you kind of know I jump all around. But when we first started Stargate, the Canucks had an enforcer named
Brashear.
Right, Brashear, Donald Brashear. So Donald Brashear also had a shaved head, and we looked somewhat alike, but I didn't know it when I got here. So I would be like walking, and people would be like, "Rash, great game! All right!" And so it kept happening, and I think I was with Shanks, and we went to a game, and we had good seats, and I see him. I'm like, oh, that's what it means. And it did. And then so I ended up meeting him, and I said, man, people always would say like, Rash, hey, great game, or he liked to. He was an enforcer. He turned out to be a very good hockey player, but when he first came here, he was an enforcer. So he got into a lot of fights. So I didn't know why every time I went out, like dudes would want to fight me. And he was like, oh, people keep asking me about Chulak. And then I was turning the TV, and I saw Stargate, and he was on Chula. I'm like, oh, but thank you for that. And best of luck to Winnipeg. No, I'm kidding. Go on.
What was that question over there?
First, I just wanted to know how it was your experience in working with God of War. I've just recently completed it, and I thought it was epic. But much of that was to do with the quality of the acting in the cast in the game, I thought. And so I just wondered what it was like to work on that as opposed to, say, World of Warcraft. And have you actually played the game?
Working on it was, well, first of all, it was the first time like I had been like #1 on the call sheet for an extended period of time. So to say they were a little taken aback by my, let's call it process, of joking around with the crew. There was a tremendous amount of pressure when we first started because God of War is still a very successful franchise.
But you have to do it very tight.
Well, not only that, I was taking over for a guy who had done it for 14 years. So there was a bit of pressure. So everyone was kind of uptight, and I came in laughing and joking and partying. No one quite knew how to take that. So after a couple of days, I called everyone in, and I said, look, there's a lot of pressure on us. So what? Oh, let's have some fun. Let's have some laughs. And if you're not prepared to do that, get out. No, I actually did Stargate. So from kind of that time on, it was a hoot. And a lot of it came from the top down. Corey Barlog, genius, and truly made me rethink what it is to be a man in power. How no one's idea was too small, your position wasn't ever too small for him to listen to you, from here to hear you out, to have him support you. He lifted every person up from no matter what their status was on the crew, on the cast. He's a loving man. He was supportive. One of the first things was, I don't know if it's been out for 6 months. If you haven't played it, I'm gonna give some spoilers. So one of the first scenes that we shot was Kratos getting the Blades of Chaos. I love saying that. The Blades of Chaos. So the old kind of version of Kratos he had one kind of emotion, which was anger. And so why they wanted to go to the front, they wanted Kratos to have evolved. So I went to Corey, and I said, I don't know how far you want me to take this. Like, I don't know what parameters you have for Kratos emotionally, because he's never had any. And Corey said, let it fly. Let it fly. So go in, and I start crying during the scene. And so after the scene was over, the first thing I thought was, that was ridiculous. Like, Kratos doesn't cry. Like, Kratos doesn't that. And I looked around, and the crew was crying, and the co-stars were crying, and Corey was crying. And Corey came over and gave me a hug and said, we're going to show everyone that men can have feelings. It was so enlightening. The whole 4-year experience was so enlightening, especially in the course of the Me Too movement, in the course of to see how a real workplace should function and how collaboration is the motor that drives greatness. And hearing people out and everyone being treated equally is truly what can push things to greatness. It just made me reassess everything about my life, everything I want to do, and I think we've now gone over the $5 billion mark. So I think Corey was correct.
Last you take him off stage.
I didn't.
Oh, last thing. But a lot of what I drew on was my relationship with my own children and having to come to, now that they're adults, having conversations about where I was for 10 years and like the choices I made, and which the genesis of all that was Teal'c's relationship with Ryak, and what that meant, and what him leaving a son, and the generational thing of what I say about that war, but also goes through true to Stargate, is how do you father if you've never been fathered? How do you parent if you've never been parented? And just thematically, that's kind of the stuff that I really kind of want to explore for whatever the future holds.
If we didn't have any other guests, I could have left you on stage to just talk all day.
Who are the other guests? No, I'm kidding.
But I think we're going to do a panel tomorrow, so we can get some bonus press time during our panel tomorrow, for sure.
Excellent.
So the panel tomorrow, maybe.
There's going to be a panel tomorrow.